Imagine inventing the mouse, the graphical interface, Ethernet, and laser printing. Now imagine watching other companies turn those inventions into billions of dollars. Sounds impossible, right? But it actually happened. The company was Xerox. And this is the story of how Xerox helped create the future of personal computing, then somehow lost it. To understand what happened, you have to go back to the 1970s. Xerox was already a giant. Its name was practically synonymous with photocopying. But Xerox wasn't satisfied with just making better copiers. The company wanted to know what the office of the future would look like, so it created something called PARC, the Palo Alto Research Center. And what happened inside that lab was absolutely insane. Inside PARC, engineers built a computer called the Xerox Alto. And remember, this was the early 1970s. The Alto had a screen with windows. It had icons. It used a mouse. You could interact with files and documents directly on the screen, and the machines could communicate over a network called Ethernet. Basically, a version of the modern computer was sitting inside Xerox's research lab decades before most people had ever seen anything like it. But there was a problem. The people inside PARC could see where computing was going. The business side of Xerox wasn't nearly as convinced. Xerox had built a massive business around paper, documents, and copiers, and computers. They were expensive, complicated, and nobody knew exactly how big the market would become. So Xerox kept focusing on the business it already understood, while some of the most important technology of the future was sitting right inside its own building. Then, in 1979, something happened that would change the technology industry. Steve Jobs and Apple engineers visited Xerox PARC, and Jobs saw the Alto. He saw the mouse. He saw the graphical interface. And suddenly, he could see something Xerox wasn't fully seeing yet. A computer that ordinary people could actually use. Apple took those ideas and pushed them toward the consumer market. First came the Lisa, then in 1984, the Macintosh. Suddenly, graphical computing wasn't just a research project inside a laboratory. It was becoming something regular people could buy. And this is where Xerox's missed opportunity becomes painful, because Xerox had helped build the technology. But Apple helped make the experience famous. And Xerox's story gets even crazier. PARC wasn't just about graphical interfaces. Researchers were working on networking, document systems, programming languages, and printing technology. Xerox also developed laser printing technology that eventually became a major part of the company's business. So this wasn't a company with one lucky invention. It had an entire laboratory full of ideas that would shape modern technology. And that's what makes the Xerox story so fascinating. Xerox didn't fail because its engineers weren't smart. They were incredibly smart. The problem was turning breakthrough research into products and understanding which technologies could become huge businesses. Apple, Microsoft, and countless others took ideas from the same technological wave and built massive companies around personal computing. Xerox had a front-row seat to the future, but seeing the future and owning it are two completely different things. Xerox didn't exactly disappear. It remained a major name in printing and document technology. But its PARC story became one of Silicon Valley's greatest business lessons. Sometimes your biggest mistake isn't failing to invent the future. It's inventing it and not realizing what you have. That's the story of Xerox. And that's why the company that helped build the future didn't become the company that owned it.